Alright, this is going to cover a
Alright, we're going
Land
to cover
Rover
here the
Discovery
Land Rover Discovery
mass
2,
airflow sensor replacement.
replacing
This is
the
the engine
mass
of the
flow
Discovery
air
2,
sensor.
and right there is the mass airflow sensor, and that's connected to the air intake. Now, normally that would be attached with clips, but that air intake cover is broken, and that's the mass airflow sensor itself. The only tools that you really need to do this job are a flathead screwdriver, some dielectric grease can help, or you can use a 1/4 inch for that nut there, but you can use a flathead also. Now I'm trying to use one hand to do this, so it takes me a bit longer, probably about twice as long as it would normally take. It takes a total of just under 10 minutes for me to get it replaced. Had I been using both hands, it would have taken closer to 3 to 5 minutes. So this is a pretty quick and easy do-it-yourselfer job. Now there I've loosened up the collar holding the other end of the mass airflow sensor. It's just real difficult pulling it out with only one hand. Normally you use your other hand, hold on to the other piece, and pull it, and it comes right out. Now we're trying to loosen up the screw a little bit more to make sure that wasn't what was giving me a hard time. I probably would have been better off disconnecting that wire first, just in case I was pulling too hard and put pressure on those wires. Now that's the connector that holds it in place. If you see there, those are Torx. Those are security Torx bits, actually. Tamper proof. You don't need to mess with those. The only thing you need to do is push those little tabs on the side and give it a pull. Those things sometimes get on there pretty well, and it's really difficult to move. And the way that thing looks, it looks like you would have to pull those Torx bits out, those Torx screws out. But really all you need to do is jab your flathead screwdriver in there while you're pressing on the tabs. Here I'm only using one hand, so I pressed on the tabs to loosen them, but couldn't use both hands. Would have been a lot easier and a heck of a lot quicker. And there you can see it moved up a little bit. And once you get it past its sticking point, it pulls right up. And that's the entire unit of the mass airflow sensor. And there was really nothing wrong with this mass airflow sensor. I just wanted to replace it with an aftermarket version to see if anything happens to my car. When you replace these things, if it is because it's damaged, over time the computer compensates and adjusts its mixture based on what it's reading from that mass airflow sensor. So you have to clear your computer, and it's not something you can do with OBD2. It's something you have to have somebody with the proper equipment do, so it clears its mixtures. Now it's good to compare both parts, make sure it's the same size, same shape, everything's going to fit properly. Alright, now the Bosch sensor has an arrow indicating which direction you're supposed to have airflow going from the filter into the intake manifold. This aftermarket one doesn't have an indicator, but you can either just orient it in the same direction and then put it in, or if you look real close you see that the end going to one side has a nub. That's the side going to the intake manifold. The side going to the air filter is smooth. Then just shove it back in there. Your sensor wire you have to pay close attention to because one side is rounded and the other side is flat on that wire, so that you can't put it in the wrong way. So if it doesn't go right in there, it's good, don't force it. There, I like to put dielectric grease on all my electrical connections to ensure there's no problem with electrical conductivity. So there I'm putting just a little tiny dab in each side of one of the individual connectors. Now there, if you look real close, you can see how it's one side is rounded of the black plastic. If you look at the yellow plastic, both sides are rounded. But that black plastic, one side is flat, the other side is rounded. You look on that end, see one side is flat and the other side is rounded. Just stick the wire back in there, but make sure you have it so that that hose doesn't get wrapped up in that wire. That's the hose that goes from the radiator to the overflow tank, or the expansion tank in this vehicle actually. And just stick the plug back in until it seats firmly, really until it bottoms out. You should hear a slight little snap. Be careful not to pull on that wire when you're removing the plug, because you can damage those little connectors in there, and then you'll have a lot more problems. Now that's supposed to be a connector to keep that wire away from the engine, but on this car that connector is broken, so I just kind of shove it up in there. Now at this point we would replace the cover, which is broken on this car. I'm waiting for a new one to come in. Make sure that that gasket is in there also if you're doing this, because you can't end up with a situation where just that gasket is missing, making the car think there's a mass airflow problem when there really isn't. So you put the cover back on there, reattach
That top of the air filter.
and it's all back together.
Now, it took me about twice as long.
Then just need to screw that
hand,
screw back in place.
but it still took less than 10 minutes to do. And remember to tighten this piece back up.
Alright, now I'm still trying to get that piece tightened down. Again, it's really difficult to do with one hand. If I was using both hands, I'd use one to hold it in place and use the other hand to screw it.
This doesn't need to
Or I would have used the ratchet.
extremely tight.
And when you tighten that down, just
Screw it down until you feel
tighten it till it's firm. You don't have to kill it.
And that's how you replace
And then that's
the
it.
airflow sensor on the Land Rover Discovery.